Hello again, and welcome for joining us again. On this Super Monday, we will talk on the way to design a puzzle game that your players just can't get enough of. My name is Guy Yogev. I'm a game designer here at Supersonic.
Hey everyone, I'm Shai Laufgas. I'm a game designer as well here at Supersonic Studios.
So what is cooking? So first, we're going to address what makes a puzzle feel great to play. Then we will try to mimic how using clarity, feedback, and motion will pull players in. Moving forward, we'll try to understand why fresh content keeps the game exciting. Then we will try to keep our players hooked with smart progression systems. And reaching towards the end, we will add a story to make the experience richer. Last but not least, we will turn our ideas or your ideas into a playable prototype. So first, what is the appeal behind a puzzle game? First, we should not overlook marketability still. We are aiming for a mass audience in hybrid casual games, which are not that far from the hyper casual realm where we used to dive in. So marketability still matters. The second element is the mechanics and control. They should be easy to pick upon, should be clear, and everyone should relate to. And lastly, both your novice players and experts should enjoy your game equally. So you should work on your difficulty curve. To you, Shai.
Thanks, guys. So to break it down even further, we will show you some of the best practices using some of the games we've been working on, especially two games which are our recent successes. The first one is Unravel Master, and the second one is Schoolmaster 3D. Both games were developed with our partners at EO Games, and we will use them to show you some real-life examples of what and how it's done.
Okay, so let's start with the core gameplay loop. So what is it basically? We can talk a lot about this, but simply put it, the core game loop is basically what your players are doing over and over again. So basically, they're doing some action, they are getting rewarded for this action, and with this reward, they're using it in order to expand, to progress, and to do something. With this, they will do the same thing over again on the next level. So the core game loop is basically what keeps your player hooked on your game. In puzzle games, players should understand the repetitive loop just from the get-go, and sometimes we would even wish for them to understand it just from a snapshot of the level itself. Let's take it into action. So let's take Unravel Master for example. As you see in the picture from the right, basically we want to clear all the toolboxes by matching the wool to the concurrent color of the toolbox. Then by clearing all the toolbox by passing the level, I'm collecting gold, which is the currency of the game, the main currency of the game, and yarn to use on the meta layer. And then I'm going to continue to the next level to do the same thing over again. So these are the main fundamentals of the core game loop. Now, Shai will talk about UX design pillars.
Yeah, let's talk about some UX design pillars. So let's look, for example, at Unravel Master, right? So the first point is clear focus on single items, which is what this game is about, right? So take a look at the screenshot and see the good separation of the body parts of the piggy bank model. Then on top of that, we have the clearly separated coins that you can see as well. The second point is the clean background. And in this example, what also really helps out is the white gradient in the middle on top of the clear background, which really helps focuses the attention of the players to the center of the screen. The third point is the minimalist color index range, which definitely helps out players spotting the needed colors. And lastly, the overall aesthetic of the game and the unraveling animation is very polished. It makes the unraveling action satisfying and also the goal of the game easy to understand. If I need to summarize this slide, I would say that visual clarity is kind of the unspoken communication of your game. The clearer it is, the better experience players will have. All right, if we let's look at this slide with two examples to demonstrate more of how visual clarity and how it happens in practice. So on the left-hand side, you can see the booster buttons, which really is a holistic part of the game with their design and color palette. On the right-hand side, you can see how cool the toolbox UI, which looks like you can unravel it as well with really nice texture material, and it really fits the main theme of the game. It really feels that everything speaks in the same language. So that's really cool. All right, let's talk on another perspective of UX, which is feedback, right? Let's break down this matter. So some of the I mean, let's look at some key differences of the games. So at first glance, the games might look similar, but they have some differences which are worth mentioning. If we look on the left-hand screenshot, we can see Screwmaster. And Screwmaster is a physics-based game. Not only that players are able to see some of the next screws and plan their moves, some unscrewed parts will fall thanks to gravity only when players rotate the model. The feedback here is mainly instant, accompanied by an instant and short haptic. And I think that all of these generate a really strong feeling of a skill-based game. Unravel Master, as I said, it might look similar, but over there, the main feeling is something closer to satisfaction and even ASMR, which is accompanied by a nice continuous haptics. On top of that, due to the fact that the materials of that game are non-transparent, so each time players step to unravel a piece, the next color is a mystery, it's unknown. It makes it also thrilling and surprising. So let's now talk about level design principles, which Guy is going to cover. Guy.
Thank you. Um, so upon establishing the core game loop and also addressing the UX elements that Shai has mentioned, now it's time to focus on basically the money maker in puzzle worlds. So it's the difficulty curve and in all the level design. So we tend to aim or to try to find the equilibrium between frustration and boredom. For that, we would need to balance between the challenge presented to the player and the skill or resources that he possesses in the same moment. So in order to do so, we use some variation types such as new layouts, new part types. Sometimes we just even change the mechanics, the background of the game, and also some of the mechanics. We see some of the curvatures are look like a soul-like curvature, but we tend to see even different ones. Um, if we want to address the design pillars of what makes a successful puzzle game loop, so we first try to here at Supersonic we find that those four, and we will going to address them and give some examples of them. So the first one is the clear fail state. Players should be able to understand and to anticipate what is the fail point on any given level. So this should basically balance between luck and skill, so players won't be overwhelmed by that. The second one is the space to play. So we want to let them experience in the level and to present the choke points or to present the bottlenecks only towards the end of the level when they are invested in the level itself. The third one is the high stakes, so they can fail on any given level once they have established and mastered the controls of the game, and we've given them enough aids to help them surpass the game. Last but not least are the small victories. Because levels in the puzzles tend to be long, and some of them tend to be hard, we want to grant them some quick satisfactory moments to basically keep them motivated. So the first example is the clear fail state. As you can see here in this video, so basically the tray slot is an indicator of the amount of available moves I still got. So basically, when I'm left with only one available slot, basically now the UX elements start to kick in, and the blinking effect, the text on the middle, because now I want to create or to mimic some sort of sense of urgency and let them strategize their gameplay otherwise. The second example is the space to play. So basically, as you see from the picture, I'm almost towards the 300 wolves, and I already unlocked two toolboxes. I already used some of the boosters. So basically, the difficulty grows within the level, as we mentioned, and we want to grant them the ability to have a lot of aids that can help them to pass the level. And last but not least, the last example is the small victories. So it is important to indicate how much they have progressed. Take a look at the picture from the left, the top left. We notice them how much screws they have been collected, and this is rooted basically in behavioral economics, when theories just such as sunk cost said that basically the more I am immersed in the level, so the more I am invested in the level, the more chance that I will revive in order to presume and to protect my achievement and my progression. So basically, this is where all things come to an end. So we walk around the core loop. We iterated on the difficulty curve. Now what? So we understand content is king. We need it in order to sustain. And the first thing is basically obstacles. So why do we need them actually? The first thing is that we would like to raise the stakes. As we mentioned, we want to balance between boredom and frustration. We don't want to reach the towards the end of the boredom, so we want to make obstacles that will make players think and plan ahead. The second thing is keeping it fresh. So we want new challenges to mix up the gameplay and to not let the gameplay be so monotonous. Again, avoid the boredom. The third thing is leveling up. We want tougher obstacles that would make the progress feel rewarding, and I'm mastering it. And last but not least, we should always discuss on this matter. So basically, we want to boost the revenue. All of those tricky spots can basically nudge players towards buying alpha boosters. So we want to convert them eventually. And basically, here at Supersonic, we tend to divide obstacles into two main categories. The first one is the dynamic obstacles, and the second one is the static obstacles, which dynamic also can be recategorized as time versus vicinity obstacles. We will talk mostly on dynamic and static, and the mere difference between the both is the amount of control the player possessed over those obstacles. So these are two examples of dynamic obstacles, where on the left you can see the glued item, where I use them as one item. They may take two items or two slots on the tray, but they mimic and act like a one item. So basically, this is under the control of the player. The second one is the unknown item, which we see in a lot of puzzle games, specifically in sword puzzle games, which will be basically revealed when an item in his vicinity will be removed. So once I removed the item above it or to its right, left, so it will be revealed. Static obstacles. So we have the traditional one, which is the blocker. This is basically a place on the grid where it's untraceable, unmovable. I need to move elements all around it in order to avoid it. And the second one is the lock slot, which basically it's a slot on the tray that it's being unlocked due to a certain condition, whether it's progression, whether it's watching a rewarded video, and such. Um, Shai, to you, moving to boosters.
Yeah, thanks, guys. So let's talk about boosters, right? How can we actually help players overcome some of the obstacles Guy just mentioned? So yeah, boosters, right? Who doesn't like them? but let's try to uncover some of their secrets, right? So the first point is that they keep the flow smooth, right? Just when you get stuck, the booster is there for you, preventing you from preventing an unwanted fail, of course. The second point is emotions, right? Games are emotions, and boosters can be not only useful but really satisfying to look at, leading to visual and emotional pleasure. So it's really nice to just seeing the boosters when we use them. The third point, monetization. So sometimes players are out of boosters, and this is our opportunity to monetize our game. Let's not forget that, right? Make sure also that everything that you offer and propose players have a good value. Then it's definitely a win-win situation. The fourth point is that we use boosters a lot when it comes to progression. Guy talked about it as well. We unlock the boosters, we reward them, eventually making players feel they know which booster is ideal to each and every situation. As they master and they feel that they master the game. To wrap things up about boosters, remember, boosters are UX tools first, monetization tools second. Of course, we don't underestimate monetization at all. Just remember that focusing on a good UX experience will help players to experience your game better and help your game's monetization. All right, so after we talked about UX, let's add into the conversation UX best friend, UI, and let's show some bits and bytes of how we help players with simple and effective UI and navigation. All right, so let's break down quickly the UI navigation of the home screen of Unravel Master. So the screen separation is very simple, as you can see. The main buttons are at the bottom of the screen. The level select button has this hard level indication, which is always good. Um, Take a look at the icons, how clear and communicative they are. Everything is very straightforward, and very clear eventually. So, regarding the levels themselves, or the level themes, it's very similar to what we saw earlier, but a bit different, right? So they in this example we see Schoolmaster, so it keeps like a minimal structure with the main elements, which are the toolbox on top of the screen, followed by the storage slots underneath. Then you have the main model in the middle with a progression UI element next to it. At the bottom of the screen, we have the three in-game boosters, the boosters that we've mentioned earlier. So as you can see, it's very simple, very straightforward. Talking about the in-game boosters, the button look great and clear. Also, a common practice is to gray out unavailable elements, of course, like the locked boosters and the grayed out toolbox that you can see in this screenshot. In general, try to avoid text overload unless it's really necessary. So that's about that. Um, all right, so following the boosters we discussed, here are two examples of how simple and neat buttons can be. So you can see when players, on the example on top, when players idle a bit during the game, so a booster usage hint indicator starts flashing on the screen. Uh, and at the bottom of this slide, we can see when tapping on a button, there's a Swifty press depth animation with a small quantity indicator, which is a common practice in lots of games, right? Like I'm sure that you've seen it before, but remember that it really matters. Yeah, Guy, take it from here, please.
Thank you, thank you. So we need to progress, yeah. Um, it's important to note, and I know that some of you might be familiar with this sentence, but I want to make it crystal clear. If you take one great feature and add another great feature, this does not make you a great game. So basically, new features needs to touch players at the top of the funnel to improve your game. Games are not a collection of features, even though we might think so. We need to plan ahead and to plan our roadmap ahead and to think how they're going to communicate with the entire system. And there needs to be a core game loop which is fun. Then, only then, you can improve your LTV by building on that game loop. But if the game loop itself, if we will go back in our presentation, does not exist, so there are no features that can basically help. Let's discuss a little bit about two examples of features that might help our progression system. The first one is the quest. So basically, quest spice up the main core loop, and basically players complete some sort of side quests, side challenges in order to earn some cool rewards. It's important to notice that basically those side quests are something that I'm doing during the core loop itself. So I'm not diverting from the core loop. The second one is the collectible items, which we know for a fact. Some of them, in some cases, we might even call this a chase, because basically we're hunting for a specific item during a level. It's a time limited challenge, so there is an extra urgency on that. And basically, when I'm grabbing enough of them, I'll get extra rewards, for example, boosters, HP, and such. And it's again important to notice that those rewards will help you to progress in the core loop. So we understand that those features serve the core loop and not vice versa. And here is the impact of adding some progression-related features on two apparent metrics in Scrum Master 3D. The most important is the day 30 ARPU and retention, because we want to see late retention and late conversion, which is being stabilized by that. We see that day 30 reach almost $4 with ARPU, and day 30 retention was stabilized for 15%, which is good numbers and solid numbers, mostly related to progression-related systems. Moving forward, we would like to talk a little bit about narrative and specific on emotional framing. I know it's sometimes can be quite funny to talk about narrative in puzzle games, and nevertheless, it is important to still convey some sort of a narrative. So if we look at both of the examples, both of the games, so Scrum Master 3D, the feelings that I'm getting, because I want to convey some sort of an emotional arc, and I want to do it throughout the mechanics themselves. So if I'm going to take a Scrum Master, for example, so the tension, the release, both bring some sort of tightness into the mixture, whereas an Unravel Master, it's the comfort, it's the flow, it's the even the meditative feeling that I'm getting. So those micro emotions, they form some sort of a loop that we brought you here of stress relief delight, which basically it replaces, for those of you who are familiar with, the traditional storytelling bits, which is the setup, conflict, and resolution. If we are to move forward, we are going to discuss about the aesthetics and how it impacts the storytelling tools. Again, it's important to notice, and Shai will discuss about it later down the road. In Unravel Master, we see the bright, the yarn colors, which tend to be more warm, more optimistic, and more welcoming. Whereas in Screwmaster, everything is more metallic and everything is more precise and more, it should aim towards the mastery element. And this is basically the entire conflict between the retention and relief. And moving forward, if I want to discuss a little bit about pacing, so in both games, the levels can be quite hard and long, as we already established in those kinds of games. And as such, we wish to grant some sort of relief from attention upon our levels. And this can also be done in creating some sort of daily challenges or meta layers, as you see from the GIF, and then players can unwind and do something else. So again, I know it was funnier in the beginning of the road, but we see that we can still convey some sort of a story or some sort of a theme or lore, even with the use of aesthetics and mechanics. Moving to Shai, art and visual direction.
Yeah, thank you. So I'll just start by saying that what Guy just mentioned about narrative, I think that's like what art and visual direction trying to support in a way, right? Because this whole narrative, this feeling, those emotions, they are being kind of converted by using the right art and visuals. So if we look at Scrum Master, for example, right? So the visuals they really nail it. The game uses, as Guy mentioned, hard materials, which could be metal, it could be plastic, transparent materials, sharper edges, shiny at times. It really feels a bit almost like Lego parts. Um, the game looks more mechanical, which is also reflected in its physics. I touched earlier about it on it. Sometimes you, as I said, you unscrew a piece, and when you rotate the model, only then the part will fall, and players then will uncover the next screws. If we look at Unravel Master Art and Visual Direction, it is definitely looking like a Comer game, and it is expressed by the soft surfaces that the game has, the curved corners. They give it a feel of something a bit more cozy, and the unraveling action is very. I know I said it before. It's very satisfying, and by peeling off layer after layer, it's like players are sent to almost a vertical journey to the center of the model that they are currently working at. So that's I think, some interesting bits about those games when it comes to art and visual directions. So if we move to conclusion and tips, so what did we learn, right? The core loop is your game. Keep it simple, keep it juicy. In terms of the UX, this is how the players are going to experience everything around the core. Make it count. Boosters, right? Use them for excitement, for progression, and the overall flow of the game. Make the best out of your design and progression to create new experience and surprises for your players. The next point is what Guy just spoke about, which is very important. And story can be told with more than words. It's the colors, the pacing, the emotions your game evokes. It's really important. And last but not least, plan your game. Make sure that you have a clear plan for monetization before starting any development. It will help you a lot. Um, so yeah, that's it. Back to you, Guy.
All right, so we're going to wrap things up. Again, I'm going to state the obvious, but let's make it crystal clear again. We wish to avoid from letting players suffer in our game. So we want them to be satisfied and to actually play in our game. So every design decision matters. Every design decision, every control, every element that we put in our game, basically this is the best retention tool that you can possess. So thank you very much, guys. And now